Welcome, crypto fam, to the #1 daily Bitcoin pod, and congratulations to all Bitcoin holders around the world as we smash yet another all-time high of $73,000, 80,000 now in play. Send it. In today's show, I'll be breaking down the latest Bitcoin technical analysis. And did you know Bitcoin is now up 1,800% 4 years after the 2020 COVID Bitcoin price crash? We'll also be discussing Thailand SEC opens up their doors to US spot Bitcoin ETFs for accredited investors. Let's go. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin is more of a billion-dollar building in cyberspace, argues Michael Saylor. I'll be breaking down his latest insights, as well as Patient Capital Management switches out their Grayscale Bitcoin Trust for a Bitcoin ETP, and their fund has $1.4 billion in assets under management. Let's go. We'll also be discussing BlackRock and MicroStrategy and neck race as firms' Bitcoin holdings soar to over $29 billion worth of BTC. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin at 71,000, the same as 20,000 last cycle, as well as on-chain analyst Willy Woo projecting Bitcoin could hit his upper bound target of $337,000 for this cycle. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. But anyways, family, let's kick it off. If you're new to the channel, important to smash the subscribe button to receive daily premium crypto news alerts every day, 7 days a week, just like this. Also, equally important to smash the like if you're gaining value out of today's content. It also helps out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm, so I appreciate that. Today is pod episode number 1577. I'm your host, JV. March 12, 2024, another historic day for Bitcoin as we hit a new all-time high this morning during our live pump watch on Coinbase. We surpassed $73,000 per BTC. So let's kick it off with our market watch as we do here, fam, each and every day. Bitcoin currently correcting after tapping that new all-time high of 73,000, currently at about 71,400, down 1% on the day. We have Ether on the cusp of reclaiming 4,000, about $15 shy right now. XRP pulled back some, trading back down at 69 cents. AVAX is the big breakout of the top gainers, up 19% on the day. And we also have Ton and Injective making some big moves. And checking out coinmarketcap.com, we're sitting at a 2.7 trillion market cap. I believe the all-time high was roughly 3 trillion. We're on the cusp of breaking that as well. Also, FYI, the Bitcoin market cap overtook the market cap of silver a couple of days ago, which is a pretty big deal. Shout out to Dirty. He just gifted a membership of the channel. Much appreciated. So shout out Shaver Films. You've been hooked up. You can thank Dirty for blessing you. Also, the Bitcoin dominance is at 52.1%, back on the decline, with the Ether dominance at 17.7%. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers of the past 24 hours, Injective leading the pack, up 20%, followed by Avalanche, up 19%, followed by Ton, up 17%, followed by Near, Celestia, Ordi, Sats, and Algorand. Now, which altcoins in particular are you most bullish on for this bull run, fam? Let me know in the live chat. And checking out the crypto bubbles to get a visual perspective on the day, you can see a lot of the alts have come back down to reality after a pretty impressive pump we have been witnessing in the alt market. However, we still got a handful of very respectable gainers, and zooming out on the monthly, still a historic month for the entire crypto sphere. You can see Pepe 700% gains, Floki 763%, FET over 300%, Ajax over 300%, WIF 500%, AR 330%, even Sheeb 233%, WorldCoin 300%, Bonk 100%. I guess it was meme coin season, right? How else can you explain that one? And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, we're back in extreme greed with an 81, yesterday an 82, last week the highest we have seen this in years, a 90 in extreme greed, and last month a 71 in greed. And checking out the Bitcoin halving countdown, the estimated halving date is scheduled to take place April 19th, which is in roughly 38 days. And checking out the time chain calendar, shows you the block height we're at, 834,404. One Satoshi, it shows you here, $1 is equivalent to 1,405 Satoshis, and the market cap of Bitcoin is at 1.4 trillion. So there you have it, my crypto fam. Where do you feel the Bitcoin price action will likely be in the next 35 days, 38 days, heading into the halving? Holla at your boy.
The point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura.
That's right. Anyways, fam, if you're just joining the stream, pump the likes to pump the stream. Another historic day. We smashed 73,000 for the first time in Bitcoin history. Make some noise for that. But let's now dive into our Bitcoin technical analysis. Check out the charts where the price action is likely to go next. The price of Bitcoin surged to reach new all-time highs this morning, now breaking $73,000. And according to a March 11th post from CoinShares, crypto investment products generated a record-breaking $2.7 billion worth of inflows as of March 8th. Year-to-date crypto ETPs, which are exchange-traded products, generated over $10 billion worth of inflows, which is already nearly on par with the total $10.6 billion worth of inflows that crypto ETPs witnessed throughout the whole of 2021. Let's go. Bitcoin accounted for the lion's share of this figure, seeing $2.6 billion in inflows year-to-date, and currently represents 14% of the total crypto-related assets under management worldwide. Now, days later, March 11th, which was yesterday, the price of Bitcoin rallied to reach a new all-time high of 72,900, which we broke again this morning, surpassing 73. The asset has since leveled out and is changing hands at this time just under $72,000. Now, inflows into crypto ETPs have been spurred significantly by growing investment into the roster of recently approved spot Bitcoin ETFs here in the United States, which have now seen over 110 billion worth of total volume traded since their inception, January 11th, virtually 2 months ago. Bloomberg ETF analyst James Sayfart, can you say fart, noted that the total of 5 US spot Bitcoin ETFs now held over $2 billion worth of assets under management, with crypto native asset manager Bitwise's BitB fund being the most recent addition to the club. Quoting him here, out of the 3,500 US ETPs, there are only 445 with over $2 billion worth of assets. And in an analyst note by Cointelegraph, IG market analyst Tony Sycamore predicted that the current rally could see Bitcoin's price push towards 80,000 in the coming months. Send it. I can see that happening a lot sooner. What are your thoughts, fam? Adding that the crypto asset would be well supported on any potential dips. Now, the founder of digital asset investment fund ARK36 shared that Bitcoin's new all-time high coincided with the London Stock Exchange accepting Bitcoin and Ether ETF notes, as well as increased willingness from the UK Financial Conduct Authority to accept new crypto-related financial products. This is a big deal. We also touched upon yesterday, quoting them here. This significant regulatory shift not only reflects London's intention to remain a key player in the financial world, but also signals a broader acceptance of institutionalization of cryptocurrencies. Now, they looked at the increasing regulatory acceptance of crypto assets internationally, the upcoming halving event, and the continued growth of the Bitcoin ETF inflows as heralding a new era of growth and mainstream adoption for crypto. Quoting them again, the cumulative effect of these factors is likely to sustain the rally and foster a more robust and diversified investment landscape for digital assets. Also want to point out that Bitcoin is officially now up over 1,800%, 4 years after the 2020 COVID price crash. How many of you, family, seized the moment and bought that dip when Bitcoin crashed? Shout out Derek. I appreciate you subbing to the channel. I remember Bitcoin going from 8,000-9,000 a coin to 3,500, right? That was a great buying opportunity, clearly, as currently we're at 71,000. I also recall Ethereum dropping over $100. So how many of you took advantage of that COVID dip? Let me know. And do you feel that another black swan could be amongst us, like deja vu, as now it is literally 4 years later, and we have another presidential election here in the United States set to take place later in the year. Let's go.
All-time high, all-time high,
All-time high in this week.
Watch it pump to the sky. We just buy and get rich.
Tell them. Anyways, family, next story of the day. Let's break down this Thailand ETF, and shout out to all my beautiful people in Thailand. Been quite a minute since I visited this beautiful country, one of my favorite places in the world, just saying. Thailand SEC opens the doors to US spot Bitcoin ETFs for accredited investors. That's right. The Thailand Securities and Exchange Commission has reportedly amended its rules, allowing the launch of private funds that invest into spot Bitcoin ETFs traded on U.S. exchanges. However, here's the caveat. Only institutional investors and ultra-high net worth individuals will be able to invest in these private Bitcoin ETF funds, according to the March 12th report from the Bangkok post. Very similar to Brazil, very similar situation. It was pretty much only their high net worth individuals capable of investing through their products. Now, previously, regulations that govern investments of asset management firms did not cover digital asset ETFs, and under the SEC Act, asset managers are only permitted to provide trading of assets classified as securities. However, after the U.S. securities regulator approved spot Bitcoin ETFs earlier this year, January, shares in spot Bitcoin ETFs became defined as securities rather than crypto assets under the Thailand regulations. The SEC Secretary General Poranong said the regulator will permit only accredited investors to have access to Bitcoin exchange-traded products due to their high-risk nature. Quoting them here, asset management firms asked the SEC for them to have exposure in digital assets, especially Bitcoin and spot Bitcoin ETFs. But we need to consider carefully whether to allow asset management firms to invest in digital assets directly due to the high risks, she shared with the Bangkok Post. In January, the Thailand SEC reportedly said it would not allow asset management firms to launch their own version of spot Bitcoin ETFs within the country. However, the latest rules have left out the prospect of retail investors getting exposure to these Bitcoin ETFs. Retail crypto trading remains popular in Thailand, but its usage remains restricted. Now, using digital assets for payments was outlawed by the government in March 2022, and the SEC banned the use of cryptos for lending and investments in July of last year, 2023. Nevertheless, the regulator lifted these restrictions on retail investors purchasing digital tokens backed by real estate or infrastructure projects back in January. The kingdom's largest crypto exchange, BitCub, offers 107 pairs and has daily volume of roughly 155 million, according to CoinGecko. Additionally, Binance entered the Thai market with a new exchange in January, but it is only accessible to Thai nationals. So there you have it. More adoption continuing around the world, and we just got another big buy signal from the Nippinator. Paws are in the sky, and they stay there like, whoa. So you already know. Let's dive into our next story of the day. Let's discuss the latest from the Giga Chat himself, the one and only Mike Saylor.
Take all your time, figure out how to borrow more money to buy more Bitcoin.
So yeah, Bitcoin is more of a billion-dollar building in cyberspace, says Saylor. Bitcoin investors should treat Bitcoin less like a currency and more like a billion-dollar building in cyberspace to be held for 100 years, according to MicroStrategy chairman Michael Saylor. So there you go. How many of you have a 100-year HODL strategy? Holla. During the March 11th interview he did yesterday with CNBC, Saylor argued there is a fundamental misunderstanding among those who view Bitcoin as a currency and that Bitcoin's killer application, it is the ability to preserve capital for hundreds of years. Quoting him here, it is going to be controversial if people think of it as a currency, so I would encourage people to think of it as a digital currency, a billion-dollar property in cyberspace. No one's trying to buy a cup of coffee with a fraction of their building on Fifth Avenue, but every rich person I know owns property in London or New York City or somewhere, and none of them complain about having to spend their building as a medium of exchange. Saylor argued that many of these controversial issues surrounding cryptos have revolved around their use as a medium of exchange, and that the US, Europe, and China would be much more likely to embrace them if they were seen as digital property. As he shares in this tweet, Bitcoin is digital property. It is superior to other investments such as gold, equity, or real estate because it's digital, available, global, ethical, and useful to millions of companies and billions of people. He shared that on Squawk Box. If you want to watch the actual interview with him, check the show notes below the video. In the description, here's some more of the highlights, quoting the Giga Chad. Medium of exchange is only worth 1 trillion. Store value is worth 100 trillion, Saylor added, in arguing why Bitcoin has a higher ceiling as a property than a currency. He makes a good point there. Earlier this year, in an interview January 11th with CNBC, the BlackRock CEO Larry Fink similarly voiced that Bitcoin is better suited as a form of wealth storage than a contender to replace national currency. Now, commenting on the impact of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, Saylor said, Bitcoin is going to eat into gold, adding it has all the great attributes of gold and none of its defects. Preach, quoting him here. It's global. It's the most widely recognized and trusted investment asset in the world right now. It is ethical because it is the king of all commodities, because there is no issuer and there is no company controlling it. He also commented on whether he lost sleep when Bitcoin tumbled below 20,000, saying he didn't have any question about it rebounding strongly. What a stud. Quoting him again, it's the greatest of the assets. In my opinion, there is no second best. So I didn't have any question about it.
What's the second best? There is no second best.
We're just waiting for the rest of the world to realize how good it is. Preach. So there you have it. Crypto fam, let me know your thoughts on Bitcoin being digital property and a store value, which has a much larger market cap to tap into as a store of wealth versus a currency. Holla. Good stuff. But anyways, fam, I still got a couple of stories to share with you. Actually, we still got 3 more to go. Let's discuss this $1.4 billion trust. Then the the race neck and neck of BlackRock and MicroStrategy accumulating vast amounts of biddies. Then we'll discuss our feature story of the day, which is the 337,000 Bitcoin price prediction from on-chain analyst Willy Woo. So yeah, let's break this baby down. Patient Capital Management has revised its Patient Opportunity Trust prospectus to replace Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust in a filing with the US SEC submitted yesterday, March 11th. In doing so, it also modified the risk factors of its prospectus, acknowledging crypto regulatory risks in place, a Bitcoin risk. Reading the filing here, effective immediately. The fund may seek exposure to Bitcoin by investing up to 15% of its net assets in exchange for traded products that are registered under the Securities Act of 1933 and invest primarily in Bitcoin ETFs. Quick shout out to Masi or Majay. I know I'm not pronouncing the name correctly, but I greatly appreciate you gifting a membership of the channel. So thank you, family. Respect. Therefore, all references to Grayscale Bitcoin Trust throughout the prospectus and statement of additional information are replaced with references to Bitcoin ETPs. This move expands the fund's investment option to include all ETPs rather than the Grayscale fund. Interesting, right? Here's the official filing that was shared with by MicroStrategy. Now, Patient Capital Management stated in the new filing it intends to invest up to 15% of its capital into Bitcoin ETPs. Let's go. The firm holds $1.4 billion in assets under management as of December 31st, 2023. So its Bitcoin investment can run over $200 million. Let's go. The fund may be planning a hodling strategy for its Bitcoin, according to the website, quoting it here. In this market, we believe volatility is the price you pay for long-term returns. Tell them. Patient Capital Management stated in its filing that the fund would bear the risk of fluctuations in the price of Bitcoin and countries, including the US, in the future, which may restrict or outlaw the acquisition, use, or sale of Bitcoin. Grayscale filed an S1 form with the SEC to register a new mini version of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust as of March 11th. Now, Bloomberg analyst Saylor suggests that the new fund sought to provide tax advantages. And as competition for investors heats up, Grayscale is at an increasing disadvantage due to the comparatively high management fee of 1.5% annually. Van Eck, for example, announced yesterday that it would eliminate sponsor fees on the first $1.5 billion of funds in its Bitcoin Trust ETF until March 31st, 2025. So if you were to invest into the Bitcoin ETF, would you rather have 0% fees or 1.5%? Great question, family. Now, a lot of money clearly flowing into the King crypto at this time, and I don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon. We're going to dive into our next story of the day. Let's discuss BlackRock and MicroStrategy neck and neck mass accumulation of these biddies. The headline reads, BlackRock and MicroStrategy in neck and neck race as the firm's Bitcoin holdings soar over $29.1 billion worth of BTC. That's right. MicroStrategy continues to gobble up Bitcoin, and as it soars to new all-time highs, as we hit yet again this morning, hitting 73,000. The business intelligence firm recently used proceeds from convertible notes and excess cash to buy an additional 12,000 Bitcoin for $821 million at an average price of $68,500 per BTC. According to Michael Saylor, the company's executive chairman, they now own 205,000 Bitcoin, which it acquired at an average price of $33,700 per BTC. That trove is now worth more than $14.8 billion, a more than 114% increase from the $6.9 billion the company spent on the Bitcoin. So they're killing it. Saylor's firm is not the only entity stacking Bitcoin. Of course, we've got BlackRock's newly approved spot Bitcoin ETF, the iShares Bitcoin Trust, which accumulated a total of 198,000 Bitcoin worth more than 14.3 billion, according to BitMEX research. A recently amended prospectus filed with the US SEC indicates BlackRock wants to include spot market Bitcoin ETF exposure in a proposed in-house investment fund, which I've been covering here as well. More big news. So you already know, I think the race will continue. We coined this game theory. Both BlackRock and MicroStrategy now collectively have roughly 200,000 Bitcoin, and the race is just getting started, as this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. I've heard MicroStrategy share that they're looking to accumulate 5% of the circulating Bitcoin supply. Right now, they control roughly 1%. BlackRock controls roughly 1%. So to get to 5% from 200,000 means they're looking to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin. That's pretty serious. That would give them as much Bitcoin as Satoshi himself, creator of this protocol. So what's your thoughts? Do you think BlackRock will outshine MicroStrategy at the rate they're going, or do you think it'll continue to be very competitive neck and neck as it has been? But something to consider, what BlackRock just achieved in 2 months, it took MicroStrategy 4 years, as they were the first publicly traded company to put the biddies on their balance sheet back in 2020. Right now it's 2024. So BlackRock coming out of nowhere, trying to become king. What's your thoughts, family? But anyways, family, now for our featured story of the day. Bitcoin can hit $337,000 this cycle, according to on-chain analyst Willy Woo. In fact, this is his upper bound target. So let's break this baby down. Let's start with the actual tweet he recently shared. Bitcoin at 71,000 puts us here, as you can see in the chart, in visual of the upper and lower bound models. Upper bound right now is $337,000. So this bull market is still early, equivalent to 20,000 of the last cycle. Last cycle didn't hit the upper bound due to the flood of the paper Bitcoin, referring to futures, aka derivatives, aka financial weapons of mass destruction. This is less dominant this cycle. Amen to that. We finally got the spot ETF approved, so it's not just futures we're dealing with anymore. So yeah, shout out to Willy Woo. Now, Bitcoin breached, as you know, this morning, 73,000, hitting yet another all-time high. Let's go. And despite Bitcoin surpassing 73,000 this morning, the bull cycle is just starting, according to Woo's price model, which is based on a composite of various metrics set to gauge investor behavior. Here's what he wrote on the 11th, which was yesterday, which I just shared with you. Ultimately, the upper bound right now range is $337,000. I also pointed out in yesterday's podcast, if you didn't watch it, be sure to check it out. But Max Kaiser, the high priest, he also upped his higher range target to 750,000 for this cycle peak. Now, furthermore, the Bitcoin macro index broke the upper blue band this week, which signals we are in a full fundamentals driven bull market, as Wu noted, sharing this chart you can see here on your screen. Now, meanwhile, the current bull market dynamics might result in an earlier macro top compared to the previous cycles, according to Rec Capital, quoting him here. If the accelerated perspective turns out to be true, then the next bull market peak may thus occur in 266 to 315 days. That's December 2024 or February 2025. Now, historically, it's usually like 18 months after the halving, we hit the cycle peak. And one of the factors completely different this time around is, for the first time in Bitcoin history, we hit the new all-time high leading into the halving versus after the halving. Previous 3 cycles, 2012, 2016, and 2020, we always hit the all-time high after the halving. So some would argue that all previous models are destroyed and broken. What's your thoughts on that? Now, we did share this Bitcoin liquid index chart, as you can see here. And we also have Crypto Coin, who expects Bitcoin's 4-year cycle to accelerate by as much as 1 year. And according to this analyst, with Bitcoin entering price discovery mode and new all-time highs a year earlier than usual, we may be witnessing the death of the 4-year cycle. Let me know if you agree with that. Our before perfectly structured cycles would have called for a top late 2025, but we seem to now be right on track for a top late 2024. And according to the Giga Chad, Michael Saylor, he says, expect a 10-year bull run, unprecedented, like we have never seen before. And according to another analyst, Dave the Wave, Bitcoin can rally towards 170,000 by May if the bullish momentum continues. Now, keeping in fact, right now we're March, so he's ultimately saying in 2 months we can go as high as 170,000. Send it. Now, such as the weekly moving average convergence divergence, we know as the MACD, traders often use this to assess the potential entry and exit points. This anonymous analyst wrote the following: if the nascent parabola were to continue into a full-blown parabola, an argument for nearly $170,000 in May. Let's freaking go. Let me know if you can feel it or see that target coming into fruition. However, these price targets are becoming modest in the current bull market in comparison to Cathie Wood, who said on March 7th that ARK Invest's long-term Bitcoin price target is well above $1 million. That's right. They're now projecting $2.4 billion per Bitcoin. Quoting them here, that target, it was before the SEC gave us the green light. And I think that was a major milestone. And it has pulled forward the timeline, according to Cathie Wood, referring to the regulatory approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs in the United States. So there you have it. Are you on the mind thinking here that all the previous models are broken and Bitcoin this year, new cycle, can't be defined from the previous cycles? Or do you think we're likely to hit the cycle peak yet again in the 4-year cyclical cycle, the year proceeding the halving? I'd love to know your thoughts. My personal thoughts. My bear scenario is $222,000 per coin. My bull scenario, I officially raised as of yesterday from $500,000 this cycle peak to $750,000. I'm sticking with the cycles continuing and peaking out for the particular cycle in 2025. I hope to be wrong because I'd rather peak out in 2024, but nonetheless, until we cross that bridge, I'm still a firm believer that we're likely to maintain these 4-year cycles, but I hope I'm wrong. We soon shall see. And also, I mean, there's a lot of bullish targets. We have billionaire investor Tim Draper predicting $250,000 this year. What are your thoughts for the price target as far as this year? How high do you think Bitcoin will run up? Do you think the 4-year cyclical cycles are still intact? Do you think all previous models are broken and we can hit the all-time high this year, as pointed out by Willy Woo, maybe fourth quarter 2024 or as early as February 2025? I'd personally love to know your thoughts. Here's one thing I do know. This bull run is just getting started. As the stock to flow model shows us, it just printed the very first red dot on the stock to flow chart, and that was on March 1st, literally 11 days ago. Stock to flow also got to give credit to Plan B, creator of the Bitcoin stock to flow model, because he called it. He said Bitcoin will never go sub 40,000 ever again. This was back when Bitcoin just crossed $40,000, and he was right. The month of February, we just had the greatest monthly US dollar gain in Bitcoin history, which surpassed roughly $20,000. And just to understand, it took Bitcoin 7 years from the time of the Genesis block in 2009 to 2017, I guess that's 8 years, to achieve a 20,000 Bitcoin price action, which was the previous all-time high 2 cycles ago in 2017 after the 2016 halving. We just achieved a $20,000 surge of the Bitcoin price within 29 days, the shortest month of the year in February. So another $20,000 gain. We're right on the cusp of $100,000, 6-figure milestone. I mean, that'd take us above $90,000. So you already know it's about to get lit. Stock to flow shows us we can get potentially 8 to 12 more of these bullish red dots over the course of the next couple of years. And what if Michael Saylor is correct? What if we're just on a 10-year tear, just continuing to go up, right? Without any massively significant drawdowns of 80% like we've seen in the previous cycles? What if we just continue to rip $100, $200, $300, $400, $500,000 per coin? And before you know it, we're like, wow, Bitcoin under 1 million was a steal. Remember those days? Remember March 12th when you could have bought a Bitcoin for 70,000? Those days are forever gone. What are your thoughts on that, fam? How high do you think the Bitcoin price is likely to rip this year in 2024? And what do you think the cycle peak will be? And by what year do you think we reach the cycle peak? Holla at your boy in the live chat.